All right, welcome back. Like we say, daybreak never takes a break. We're having a very heated discussion here. I keep wishing that we could say those things on air. But it's okay. Welcome back to News Review. We're talking to Senator Agnes Zani, Senator Beatrice Zalachi, woman representative from Murang'a, Sabine Chege, woman representative from Nairobi, Esther Passaris, and she's Zinzi Kibeku. Right.
But before we went to this short commercial break, Esther Passaris, you're talking about stalling the projects. And now that we are shifting our conversations to the Big Four agenda in relation to President Kenyatta's speech on Thursday, what will stalling of the projects do to the Big Four agenda? What impact will it have? What triple effect will it have? Because does that mean now housing stops, food security, universal health care?
You see, for me, I look at Galana. The idea and the thinking behind Galana project was very good. The idea and the thinking behind infrastructure was very good. All right. And now you have stalled infrastructure. All right. And then you've also got infrastructure where money has been paid, but the project has not taken off. And that's why I say we need a complete audit of our stalled projects, and we need somebody in charge of the stalled projects, because the ministries, all right, like let's say the Ministry of Health, all right, there are lots of stalled projects even in the Ministry of Health, but they're looking at new projects. They're looking at going forward. I think freeze new projects. Let's actually have somebody work with the various ministries, but your focus is to report to the president on a monthly basis on what are the projects that, and work with anti-corruption. What are the projects that didn't take off? What are the projects that are stalled at all levels, including at the constituency level? Because you've got social halls for our youth. Started and not completed. You've got, for instance, Gara girls. They need a new dining room. The project was started in the last parliament. It's still not taken off. Why? Why are we starting new projects with a new MP when you've got a stalled project? Right. So we need to look at this holistically. And then when it comes to corruption, I think our churches somehow have failed to help us become morally right, okay? And we seem to fight battles that are not necessary. You know, I mean, I saw that, you know, recently the courts issued a ruling about allowing LGBTs to have an association. And then we're going there and we're saying, oh, we should not allow it, it's bad for our morals. As far as I'm concerned, it's part of their constitution. They have a right to have an association. I'm not really bothered about that, okay? I don't think that is a big issue. I think the big issue here is what is happening. Why are we having a moral degradation? It's because of the slums. They're over-congested. There's so much hopelessness. There's so much depression. There's so much drugs. Who's bringing in the drugs? It's the big guys who are bringing in the drugs.
Chege, would stalling the projects be the answer? Or, because we can stall the projects, but the same individuals are still in that office. So is it a cleaning that needs to be done within the offices, within the ministries? Because the system seems to be fine. Devolution is fantastic, and we've seen that it's worked in some scenarios. So perhaps the system is fine. It's the individuals that need the cleaning, that need to go.
I think we agreed that the president means well, and even when they started this audit of the procurement people, they just started it, and somehow we don't know what happened after that. An audit must be done. One on the stored projects, and I think there are many from the ones that before the new constitution, though there are some projects that were done by the national government. We have several of them, a big hospital facility, I think in Korogocho, that was meant to be a big national facility. It has stored till today, nobody's thinking about it.
Over 20 years.
And now the government is not budgeting for it. The county government, because they found it as a big project, they are not budgeting for it. And so we need to look at all those projects, the projects before the new constitution, before devolution, and ask ourselves who should take responsibility. That audit must be done. Number two, the issue about having a person termed as innocent until proven guilty, we should reverse it. It should be you are guilty once you're mentioned. You are guilty until you are proven innocent.
Innocent in matters corruption. But isn't that against the
whether we have human rights or not, we also need to know that it's also the people you are stealing from also have their rights. I don't know why human rights they apply it on you know, one we're not looking at the other side. So you should be guilty. You know, there are some countries, if you are just mentioned, you have not even, they have not even started investigating you. You just step aside. So we have to apply that guilty until proven innocent. Number three, for us to support the local, the people who are doing the local contractors, we must, once we give a project to outsiders or people who do not belong to this country, then we should also say what should be procured here. If it's cement, if it's whatever it is, the products that you're going to use, they should all be procured here. I think number four, the issue about the loans, because we know those companies, especially Chinese company, their government has come up with very attractive, you know, loans facilities. I think our government to support our local traders, we are talking about manufacturing, we are talking about housing. For these people to be engaged we must have a bank, special bank, where local contractors, local business people can go from the government itself, because there's a lot of money that is being stolen. Instead of that money being stolen, put it in a bank. We as members of parliament, when we come in, we are given a mortgage that has very attractive interest rates. So if we say we're going to have a bank with only 3%, and then all the local traders can go and borrow from that bank, make sure they return the money, I think we are going to be helping this nation. And I think we also need to have very well thought out projects. Last week we discussed about the regulations that are coming in the dairy sector. Now again, this week we had about the farmers and manure. Seriously, I was born and brought up in a village. Okay, all right. When you talk about burning manure, I think we have people who are not using brains in their government, in this government, and we need to fire all of them. But audit must be done.
But the other thing,
just before you do, talking about the state of Big Four agenda, food security, housing, manufacturing, universal healthcare. I want to begin with housing. That on December 12th, 2017, the president came out and told the country that he has listened to their wishes, and these are the 4 areas that he wants to focus on. Then we spoke about housing. We were told that during the budget reading on June 14th, 2018, that there was going to be a charge on the personal emoluments or salaries. It's now 9 months going to the 10th of the financial year. There has been no deduction. We do not hear of the status of that housing program. Where are we going with this Big Four agenda 3 years to the end of the term?
Let me start from behind that, Sam. That number one, you know, we are a country where I try to link it with my leader, woman rep, that we talk about morals, we talk about church. We go to church, Kenyans, very seriously, and we pray. Kenyans prayed about corruption, I think for 2 years. We prayed, we told God we want to finish this corruption. God answered. Said, let me show you now where the corruption is. We've come, we've called away, because now God has opened up and we've realized, oh, it is just the same us who have done that corruption. But we have already forgotten. We, in every church, every Sunday, I remember even in the Catholic Church, we had a full prayer. We would pray after Mass. We pray for this country, corruption to do what? To end. Now I want to tell Kenyans, we prayed about this, so stop shying away now to talk about it because it has come out. But then now let us come to the Big Four of the president. If we have been praying about corruption, and we have not started praying about this Big Four, then we have to deal with corruption. The next president will come and deal with this Big Four. Let me be very honest. If the president will not leave our country in a way that you'll have money to do this Big Four, I think the most he can concentrate on is universal health care, and as you say, housing. But look at this housing. And I'm happy after 9 months we have not deducted, because if you were deducting, it would have been another blunder. People would be wondering, why are you deducting money and we are not seeing anything? We haven't even seen the teams coming here, because they need to come here and create awareness and say, we are now on the process of starting this development of housing. We've agreed the housing process will be this. These are the guidelines of this housing process, that we have been deducting people. They will be able to get their houses in this way. Are you doing a pool? Are you doing with the way women, we do merry-go-round and I pick and I say I'm among the first who's going to get the first houses? Who will ever get these first houses is going to be a bone of contention. So even before you start, you must start thinking, what are the guidelines to guide you in the process? But lastly, then you must say, these houses must be friendly for people with disability, friendly, that you are building a standard that is now an international standard. Not the way I'm seeing houses being built by our Chinese brothers. Some house where even the corridor, nothing can pass through, which a person with challenges in need, how will he pass? So when you're talking of those low-cost houses, don't go and build houses again that will not look as houses, but look as our granary at home where we normally put our maize. It is very critical, that housing.
I do not fall brief for the Ministry of Housing, which is a big...
They need to come and show Kenyans those designs here. At least samples of their designs. so that Kenyans can know we're going to be taxed this, but this is what we are getting from it.
The last time we spoke to the Cabinet Secretary, James Macharia, on this show, he spoke of so much of the designs being ready, the framework being ready, and now waiting for the groundbreaking.
They need to show us.
He had promised that by the end of March, then the salary charges would begin, but you don't see that yet. And so then the State of the Nation address, State of Big Four agenda, like what would the President be saying to the nation of how far you've come with this?
Yeah, you know, when we listen to the president that is in Parliament, you listen in silence. You cannot answer. You cannot ask questions. So, because sometimes maybe if you ask questions, then we'll be able to answer and say some of these things. There are certain components that are very critical, and it's been said over and over again that our problem is not coming up with, our problem is not in conceptualization. We are good at conceptualizing very well, and even the housing project probably has been conceptualized very, very well. But how do you put the 4 factors that are very critical? That is your HR, you know, the human resources, how are you going to handle them? How are you going to handle your strategy? How are you going to handle the economic aspect? And how are you going to handle the general management of the project? And how are you going to handle a situation where you're put with the fact? Because you know, from what you're already saying, that yes, he said the designs are already ready and everything is already ready and match. What will happen when that match deadline comes and goes? Of course, there'll be something. We are in April. We're just at April. So the date has gone. If somebody wants, I think we need to get a culture of performance, a culture of proud to perform and be able to put on the table, this is what I was expected to do, this is what I have done within this period.
Honorable Zani, given if you exclude this year 2019, Uhuru and his administration have about 36 months to complete the Big Four agenda. Do you think it's possible, or is it just a dream we have somewhere in the cloud that within 36 months President Uhuru Kenyatta can deliver on the Big Four agenda?
50 years ago as Kenyans, we gave ourselves the 3 goals to deal with: poverty, ignorance, disease. We gave ourselves those 50 years ago. Now when you're looking, when you're gauging deliverables, it depends also how you want to look at them. You know, you can look at the absolute, which is the bigger picture, which is everything achieved. Probably very few countries get to that. You can look at where the 50%, we're at the 60%, we are at 30, we're at 20, not doing very well, but we are injecting ethos, we are dealing with corruption, we're dealing with the matters we need to deal with, so give us another 1 year, and we can actually catapult ourselves. So something needs to be happening there. It's never in terms of absolutes, but also the sense, you know, there's this one that you're talking about, housing. There's some deliverables that are concrete, that you can see, that you can actually be able to gauge very, very easily. There's some that are not very easy to gauge. For example, if you're talking about universal healthcare, in terms of somebody, yes, can get in and be attended to, but as to how well they were attended to, you cannot be able to answer that. Right.
And Sabina Shege, chair of the Health Committee. So universal healthcare, we are piloting in 3 counties, Machakos, Nyeri, and Kisumu. Actually 4, right? 4 plus Isiolo. Yes. And there has been quite some complaints at some of the hospitals that yes, you have the universal health care card, but in terms of accessing the services, you're still limited. I don't know, from your assessment, how far have we come? And do you think it's something that you can realize in the rest of the counties before the end of the term? Well,
we are waiting the report from the ministry on the pilot program. I think it's 4 months now. And so they had said we only require 6 months. But I think one of the things that we have discovered as a committee, and we have been discussing with the ministry, is one, you cannot separate the universal health coverage with the insurance, which is NHIF, National, the Hospital Fund. What I think the biggest mistake we did is we rolled out the universal health coverage, and then we said free, everything free, or you can access everything. But the problem was about access. Was about the NHIF, because then there's a big question on the services that are covered by NHIF. Are they now covered when you say everything is free? And I think we are going to review, but I can promise Kenyans that one of the agenda maybe that will have a huge success is the universal health coverage, because my committee is committed, and I think we have engaged the ministry. Even today we are going to have a look at the NHIF reforms, because we need reforms in the NHIF. Last week, you know, we discussed about the poor paying for the rich instead of the
Mama as well.
Yeah, Linda Mama, instead of what Esther was saying, that the rich can pay more. But you see, in Kenya, there's no one who will accept they are rich. If you say the poor, everybody will see everybody lining up and saying that we want now also to benefit. And you see, even it's the same thing even with schools. When you say even education is free for all, there are people who can afford. There are people who can totally not afford even getting uniform. I think when we are doing the implementation, and especially UHC, I would say the universal health coverage, we are working closely with the ministry. And I think towards the end of this year, come next year, people will see changes in our health sector. First and foremost, make sure that the facilities we have, at least, they have enough personnel, and also there's medicine. There's no need of you going to a hospital and then you're told go to a kiosk or to a pharmacy that is outside the facility. There are some of those things that you look at the quick wins, others will take some time. And I think we want to focus mainly on preventive, because again, the ministry had focused so much on curative. And so we were buying machines, a lot of budget going to equipment, rather than empowering our social workers, empowering the community health workers, empowering you know, the lowest level. And that's what we are having a look at. But I'm thinking maybe in future we might need to change our standing orders, because when the president comes for presidential address in Parliament, he just addressed us, and as Senator Zani mentioned, that we do not ask questions. You're supposed to listen in silence.
But you'll have time to debate it.
We'll debate, but now it's the same thing as
not there to respond.
The president giving the national address. There's no difference.
Right. We've had to let Honorable Zani go because she needs to be elsewhere and dash. But allow me to also throw the question.
Let me finish this. Just my last comment. I think we need to change our standing order so that, you know, we normally have like the Prime Minister's time in other jurisdictions. But we think we can have, when this presidential address, when it's unique for Parliament, I think we should have an engagement with the president, where I, as the chair of health, I can stand and say my concern as a chair of health, 1, 2, 3, then he can respond or say I will have a look at this. Then other chairs, and especially the ones like who are taking care of the big four, but at the same time, even members of Parliament can be able to say, Mr. President, this is what my people feel.
And that has never been tabled?
No, it has not. I think we need to relook at amending our standing orders so that when the president comes to Parliament, it's not just coming to address. He can do that in State House.
Right.
In Parliament, let him engage with us.
If that's what
and especially because most of the times that we meet with the president, the people in Jubilee, we are advantaged. You can meet with him in State House and deliberate. But even the oppositions, they don't have maybe a chance. We thank God that now we have the handshake. Now there's a lot of interaction.
Right.
But I think we need to change our standing orders. So it's not just an address. It is an interaction with the presidency. And he can come with his ministers. He can come with the people who are in State House, the people who are in Presidential Delivery Unit, and they can have a session with Parliament. I think that would be more productive rather than
if that were to happen, would it be implemented this term, or it has to wait until the other term?
It has to wait, because we are not supposed to make or amend laws that are suitable to us.
Okay. So no questions for the president. Now we have to take a short break, but when we return, we'll be looking at the last two pillars of the Big Four agenda, that is food security and the manufacturing sector. We'll be talking to the three ladies here to respond to the state of that as far as that is concerned. So there's someone, Kabugo, on Twitter says that commenting about the breaking news of the arrest of Samburu governor, he says that this is not breaking news. He will walk out in the afternoon and to rub salt into a wound with escorts and in SUVs, sport utility vehicles. Then he will call a press conference, which you will cover. Okay, we take a break. Let's take a break.